The morning sun cast long shadows across the endless mountains of broken metal in Neo-Busan's scrapyard. Kim Dae-ho wiped sweat from his forehead as he climbed over a pile of twisted ship parts. His hands were already dirty from searching through the junk looking for anything useful. The war had ended 5 years ago, but Earth still looked like a broken toy. The aliens had made sure of that. They said humans were too dangerous to have good technology. So now people like Dae-ho spent their days digging through garbage, trying to find pieces that still worked. "Dae-ho, over here!" Park Yoon-ji called, from behind a stack of old computers. She was his best friend since they were kids. While he was good with fixing things, she was amazing with computers and programs. Dae-ho climbed down and walked over to where Yoon-ji was kneeling. She had found an old datapad that somehow still had power. The screen showed strange symbols that moved and changed. "This is alien writing," she said, her eyes bright with interest. "I think it's from one of their scout ships." Dae-ho looked around the scrapyard. Somewhere in all this junk was the crashed ship this datapad came from. Finding it could be very valuable. Alien technology was worth a lot of money on the black market. They spent the next 3 hours moving heavy pieces of metal and old machines. Lee Hyun-woo, the scrapyard owner, came to help them. He was a big man who used to be a soldier before the war ended. His left arm was metal now, a reminder of his fighting days. "You kids better be careful," Hyun-woo said as he lifted a heavy beam. "Alien tech can be dangerous. Some of it still has power after all these years." Finally, they found it. The scout ship was small, about the size of a bus, but it was clearly not human. The metal was smooth and had a blue shine to it. Most of the ship was broken, but some parts looked like they might still work. Dae-ho crawled inside through a hole in the side. The inside was very different from human ships. Everything was curved and smooth. There were no wires or separate parts that he could see. It was like the whole ship was made from one piece of metal. "This is weird," he said, running his hand along the wall. "How do they fix anything if it breaks?" Yoon-ji followed him inside with her tools. She connected her computer to what looked like the ship's main system. After a few minutes, information started showing on her screen. "The ship's brain is still working," she said with surprise, "but it's very damaged. It keeps trying to fix itself, but it can't." Dae-ho studied the alien systems. Human technology was different. When something broke, you could take it apart, fix the broken piece, and put it back together. But this alien ship seemed to be designed so that everything worked together as one unit. If one part broke, the whole system failed. "Look at this," he said, pointing to a panel that was half melted. "If this was a human ship, we could just replace this panel. But here, the whole wall is the computer." They worked for hours, learning how the alien technology functioned. Dae-ho began to understand something important. The aliens built things to be perfect, but perfect things were also fragile. Human technology was built to be fixed and changed. As the sun started to set, Dae-ho had an idea. He went back to his workshop and brought some human electronics, old computers, power cells, and communication devices that he had fixed over the years. "What are you doing?" Yoon-ji asked as he started connecting human wires to alien systems. "I want to try something," Dae-ho said. "What if we could make the alien technology work with our technology?" Hyun-woo shook his head. "That's crazy, kid. Alien tech is way more advanced than ours. It's like trying to connect a stone wheel to a sports car." But Dae-ho didn't listen. He carefully connected a human power cell to the alien ship's energy system. Nothing happened at first. Then, slowly, lights began to turn on inside the ship. Yoon-ji gasped. "The alien computer is talking to my human computer." The data on her screen showed that the alien systems were not just working with the human electronics, they were actually working better. The human power cell was more stable than the alien one. The human wires could be easily replaced if they broke. "This is impossible," Hyun-woo whispered. "Human technology helping alien technology?" Dae-ho smiled as he watched the systems work together. "Maybe our technology isn't as bad as the aliens think it is." Over the next week, they continued to experiment. Dae-ho found that human technology had something the aliens didn't understand. It could be changed, mixed, and improved. Every piece could work with every other piece if you were smart about it. The aliens built their technology like a beautiful statue. Perfect, but if you changed one thing, the whole statue would fall apart. Humans built their technology like building blocks. Each piece was simple, but you could combine them in endless ways. We need to be careful who we tell about this, Yunji said one evening as they watched the hybrid systems work perfectly together. If the wrong people find out, they might try to stop us. Hyunwoo agreed. The alien governments don't want humans to have good technology. They're afraid of what we might do with it. But Daeho was thinking bigger thoughts. If human and alien technology could work together this well, what else was possible? What if they could build something completely new? Something that was better than either human or alien technology alone? The next morning, representatives from the Earth government arrived at the scrapyard. Someone had told them about the discovery. Daeho, Yunji, and Hyunwoo showed them what they had built. "This changes everything," said the lead scientist. "If we can make our technology work with alien technology, we're not as helpless as we thought." But there was a problem. The galactic government had strict rules about technology sharing. Humans were not allowed to have advanced alien technology. If the aliens found out what they had discovered, there could be serious trouble. "We need to think about this carefully," the government representative said. "This discovery could help humanity, but it could also make the aliens very angry." That night, Daeho sat in the alien ship, watching the human and alien systems work, together in perfect harmony. He thought about all the people on Earth who struggled every day because they didn't have good technology. He thought about the aliens who looked down on humans as primitive and worthless. Maybe it was time to show the galaxy that humans were not as helpless as everyone thought. Maybe it was time to prove that sometimes the best solutions came from combining things that others thought didn't belong together. Yunji found him there in the dark. "What are you thinking about?" she asked. "I'm thinking about all the junk in this scrapyard," Daeho said. "Everyone sees it as worthless garbage. But what if it's not garbage? What if it's the pieces we need to build something amazing?" She sat down next to him. "The aliens think we're garbage too." "Then maybe it's time to show them what garbage can do," Daeho replied, his eyes bright with determination. Outside, the scrapyard stretched into the darkness, full of broken dreams and forgotten technology. But inside the small alien ship, something new was being born. Something that would change the galaxy forever, built from the scraps that everyone else had thrown away. 6 months later, Daeho stood on the observation deck of a transport ship, staring at Kepler Station. The massive space station looked like a crystal flower floating in the darkness. Ships from dozens of different alien species docked at its many arms. "Never thought I'd see something like this," Park Yoon-ji said, standing beside him. She carried a case full of data chips that contained their research. Behind them, Choi Sang-min, Earth's chief diplomat, reviewed his notes one more time. He was a thin man with gray hair who always looked worried. Today, he looked especially nervous. "Remember," Sang-min said, "we're here to present our discovery, not to start a fight. The Galactic Council has agreed to listen to us, but they could change their minds at any time." Also with them was Yoon So-young, a scientist who studied alien cultures, and Bae Jin-ho, the head of Earth's small space fleet. Jin-ho was a serious man who rarely smiled. His ships were old and weak compared to alien vessels, and everyone knew it. The transport ship docked at Kepler Station with a soft bump. As they walked through the station's corridors, Daeho saw aliens he had only heard about in stories. Tall blue creatures with 4 arms walked past short, furry beings that looked like walking carpets. Floating jellyfish-like aliens drifted through the air above them, but all of them looked at the human delegation with the same expression. They thought humans were primitives who didn't belong here. The council chamber was enormous. Representatives from over 50 species sat in curved rows that rose up like the inside of a bowl. At the center, on a raised platform, were the most powerful members of the Galactic Council. The Zephyrian Chancellor was a tall, elegant creature with silver skin and no visible mouth. He spoke through his thoughts, and his words appeared as floating text in the air. Next to him sat the prime intellect of the crystalline collective, a being made entirely of living crystal that pulsed with inner light. "Humans," the Chancellor's words appeared in glowing letters, "you have requested this audience to show us your technology. We have agreed to see what primitive minds can accomplish." Laughter echoed through the chamber. The sound was strange because it came from so many different types of throats and voice boxes, but the meaning was clear. They thought this was going to be funny. Daeho stepped forward. His hands shook a little, but his voice was steady. Honored members of the council, we want to show you how different technologies can work together. Work together? The Prime Intellect's voice sounded like singing crystal. Child, your species has barely learned to leave your own solar system. What could you possibly teach us? More laughter filled the chamber. Daeho felt his face turn red, but he continued. He and Yoonji set up their demonstration. They had brought pieces of technology from several different species. Human computers, Zephyrian power cells, crystalline processing units, and parts from a dozen other civilizations. Each of these technologies is good, Daeho explained. But watch what happens when we combine them. He began connecting the different pieces together. The aliens in the chamber grew quiet as they watched. This was not how technology was supposed to work. Each species kept their technology separate and secret. As Daeho worked, he explained his discovery. Human technology is built in pieces. Each piece can be taken apart and fixed. Each piece can work with other pieces. We call this modular design. Primitive, said a representative from the Void Runners, a species known for their sleek black ships. True technology should be seamless and perfect. But what happens when perfect technology breaks? Yoonji asked. She showed the chamber a crystalline processing unit that had a small crack in it. This unit is useless now because it cannot be repaired. Then you replace it with a new one, the Prime Intellect replied. Why would you repair something when you can make it perfect again? Because, Daeho said as he finished his connections, sometimes broken things can become something better. He activated the hybrid system. The chamber fell silent as the different technologies began working together. The human computers managed the power flow from the Zephyrian cells. The crystalline processing units handled calculations, while human interface systems made everything easy to control. But the most amazing thing was what happened when Daeho deliberately broke one of the components. Instead of the whole system failing, the other parts adapted. The human computers rerouted power around the broken piece. The system kept working, and in some ways, it worked better than before. Impossible, whispered the Prime Intellect. Not impossible, Daeho said. Just different. Human technology doesn't try to be perfect. It tries to be useful. The Chancellor's floating words appeared again, but this time they seemed less confident. This is an interesting trick, but it proves nothing. Any child can connect different machines together. Then let us prove it means something, Sang-min said, stepping forward. We challenge the council to a test. The chamber erupted in noise. Aliens shouted, clicked, and made sounds that Daeho couldn't even identify. The idea of humans challenging the Galactic Council was ridiculous. Silence. The Prime Intellect's voice rang out like a bell. You wish to challenge us? What kind of test do you propose? Sang-min looked nervous, but he had discussed this with Earth's government before they came. A ship battle. One of your best vessels against something we build using our technology. The laughter that followed was so loud that Daeho had to cover his ears. The idea of human ships fighting alien vessels was like a joke to them. You cannot be serious, the Chancellor wrote. Your entire fleet could not damage one of our scout ships. Then you have nothing to lose by accepting, Jinho said quietly. The Prime Intellect pulsed brighter. Very well. We accept your challenge. Our finest vessel, the Infinite Theorem, will face whatever you can build. And the stakes? So Young asked. If you lose, the Chancellor replied, humanity accepts permanent technology quarantine. You will never again request advanced technology or council membership. And if we win? Sang-min asked. If you win, the Prime Intellect said, its crystal form flickering with what might have been amusement. Humanity will be granted full council membership and unlimited technology trading rights. The chamber fell silent. Everyone knew this was an impossible bet for the humans to make. Alien technology was thousands of years more advanced. No human ship had ever even damaged an alien vessel in combat. We accept, Sang-min said. As they left the council chamber, Daeho could hear the aliens still laughing. They thought they had just witnessed the funniest thing in galactic history, humans challenging their technology with scrap metal and wishful thinking. "They think we're crazy," Yunji said as they walked back to their ship. "Maybe we are," Jinho replied. "But sometimes crazy is what you need when nothing else works." On the flight back to Earth, Daeho stared out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the most advanced ship in the galaxy was preparing to destroy whatever humanity could build. The infinite theorem was legendary among spacefaring species. It had never been damaged in battle. But as Daeho thought about the hybrid technology they had demonstrated, he began to smile. The aliens had laughed at their scrap metal and simple designs. They thought human technology was worthless garbage. Soon, they would learn what garbage could do when it was put together by people who refused to give up. Soon, they would discover that sometimes the best way to build something amazing was to start with pieces that everyone else had thrown away. The transport ship jumped to hyperspace, carrying the human delegation back to Earth. Behind them, Kepler Station continued its slow rotation, full of aliens who were already planning how to divide up Earth's resources after humanity's inevitable defeat. They had no idea what was coming. The asteroid facility in the outer Sol system had never seen so much activity. 3 months after the challenge was accepted, thousands of people worked around the clock on Project Chimera. The asteroid had been hollowed out and turned into the largest shipyard humanity had ever built. Daeho floated in zero gravity, checking connections on what would become the HMS Lazarus. The ship looked nothing like the sleek alien vessels. It was angular and rough, covered in armor plates that could be quickly removed and replaced. To alien eyes, it would look like a flying junkyard. "The power coupling is ready," called Nam Tae-jun from across the construction bay. The big shipyard foreman had volunteered to lead the construction teams. His workers came from every scrapyard and factory on Earth. They worked with an energy that Daeho had never seen before. "This is it," Tae-jun had told his crews on the first day. "This is our chance to show the galaxy that humans don't give up." Park Yunji was in the ship's computer core, working on the artificial intelligence system. Unlike alien AIs, which were programmed to be perfect and unchanging, her AI was designed to learn and grow. It would study every battle, every weapon, every tactic it encountered, and use that knowledge to become stronger. "How's the brain coming along?" Daeho asked, as he floated into the computer room. "Better than I hoped," Yunji replied, her fingers dancing over multiple keyboards at once. "The AI can already learn from the alien technology we captured. Every time it sees something new, it figures out how to use it." The AI system was spread throughout the entire ship. It wasn't just in the computers, but in the armor, the weapons, even the life support systems. If one part of the ship was damaged, the AI could reroute functions to other parts. The ship could literally rebuild itself. During battle, Kang Hee-jin floated into the room, still wearing her pilot suit from the latest test flight. She was small and quick, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. She had been chosen to command the Lazarus because she understood how human technology worked. "The control systems are perfect," she reported. "I can reconfigure the weapons, change the armor setup, even rebuild damaged sections, all from the pilot's seat." This was the key to their strategy. Alien ships were controlled by complex computer systems that required specialists to operate. The Lazarus was designed so that one person could control everything. If something broke, the pilot could fix it without leaving the cockpit. Lee Hyun-woo supervised the weapons systems. The ship's guns were not the most powerful in the galaxy, but they were the most adaptable. Each weapon could fire different types of ammunition, and the AI could create new ammunition types by analyzing enemy ships. "Look at this," Hyun-woo said, showing Daeho a weapon that looked like it was built from spare parts. "This gun can fire human missiles, alien energy bursts, or anything else we can fit into it. The AI will figure out what works best against each target." The ship's armor was equally flexible. Instead of one solid hull, the Lazarus had thousands of small armor plates that could move and reconfigure themselves. When enemy weapons hit the armor, the ship would study the attack and change its armor to resist that type of weapon better. "The aliens build their ships like works of art," Daeho explained to a group of visiting officials. "Beautiful, perfect, and unchanging. We're building our ship like a tool, ugly, practical, and always improving." News reports from Earth showed the entire planet working together. Children collected scrap metal for the project. Factories that had been closed since the war reopened to build components. Even the orbital colonies sent whatever resources they could spare. The aliens, meanwhile, were confident that they would win easily. Reports from Kepler Station said that the Crystalline Collective was already planning humanity's punishment after their defeat. Some aliens had even started placing bets on how quickly the Infinite Theorem would destroy the human ship. "Let them underestimate us," Tae-jun said during one of the daily construction meetings. "They think we're building a ship. We're not. We're building proof that humans don't know how to quit." As the weeks passed, the Lazarus began to take shape. It was larger than any ship humanity had built before, but it still looked small compared to the massive alien dreadnoughts. What made it special was not its size, but its ability to change and adapt. Yoonji's AI system was the heart of this adaptability. She had programmed it with every piece of information humanity had about alien technology. The AI could recognize different types of weapons, figure out how alien shields worked, and even predict what an enemy ship might do next. "The AI doesn't just learn from battles," she explained to Daeho. "It learns from everything, every sensor, scan, every communication intercept, every piece of alien technology we've ever studied. It's like giving the ship the accumulated knowledge of our entire species." The weapon systems were just as innovative. Instead of building a few large guns, they had built many smaller weapons that could work together. If an enemy had strong shields, the weapons could combine their fire to break through. If an enemy was fast, the weapons could spread out to cover more area, but the most revolutionary feature was the ship's ability to repair itself. Tiny robots called nanites were built into every system. When something was damaged, the nanites would automatically begin repairs. They could even use debris from destroyed enemy ships as raw materials. "Watch this," Hyunwoo said during a test demonstration. He fired a small missile at the ship's hull, creating a hole in the armor. Within minutes, the nanites had sealed the hole and strengthened the armor around it. "Now the ship is actually stronger where it was hit," he explained. "Every attack teaches us how to defend better." 3 weeks before the battle, they conducted the final test. The Lazarus faced off against a captured alien fighter in simulated combat. The alien ship was faster and had better weapons, but the Lazarus adapted to every attack. By the end of the test, the human ship was predicting the aliens' moves and countering them perfectly. "It's working," Heejin reported from the pilot's seat. "The ship feels alive. It's like it wants to learn and grow." As the completion date approached, workers from across the solar system came to see the finished ship. The Lazarus was not pretty, but it was impressive. Its hull was covered in sensor arrays that could detect any type of energy or matter. Its weapons could swivel to fire in any direction. Its armor could shift and change like living skin. "She's ready," Tae-jun announced on the final day of construction. "The ugliest, toughest, smartest ship humanity has ever built." Daeho floated in the observation bay, looking at their creation. The ship represented everything humans were good at. It was built from scraps and spare parts, but those scraps had been carefully chosen and expertly combined. It was not the most advanced ship in the galaxy, but it might be the most adaptable. "Are you nervous?" Yoonji asked, joining him at the observation window. "Terrified," Daeho admitted, "but also excited. We've built something that has never existed before, a ship that gets stronger every time it fights. The aliens still think we're going to lose," she said. "Maybe we will," Daeho replied. "But if we do, we'll lose fighting with everything we have, and maybe that will be enough to change how they think about us." The Lazarus slowly moved away from the asteroid facility, its engines glowing with hybrid human-alien technology. It was heading for Kepler Station, where the most advanced ship in the galaxy was waiting to destroy it. But the aliens had made one critical mistake. They thought the battle would be about who had the better technology. They didn't understand that sometimes the winner was not the one with the perfect weapon, but the one who could turn any weapon into the right tool for the job. The galaxy was about to learn that humans didn't win by being perfect. They won by being impossible to stop. The space around Kepler Station had never been so crowded. Ships from every major species in the galaxy had come to watch what everyone expected to be a quick and embarrassing defeat for humanity. The betting odds were 1,000 to 1 against the humans. Kang Hee-jin, sat in the pilot's seat of the HMS Lazarus, watching the massive shape of the infinite theorem appear on her screens. The crystalline collective's championship was 3 times the size of her vessel and looked like a living jewel. Its hull was made of pure crystal that pulsed with inner light. Energy patterns flowed across its surface like veins of liquid fire. "It's beautiful," Park Yoonji whispered from her station. She was monitoring the ship's AI systems, watching as their artificial intelligence studied the enemy vessel. "Beautiful things are often fragile," Kim Dae-ho replied from the engineering station. His hands moved over controls that could reconfigure the ship's systems in real time. "Let's see how pretty it looks when we start hitting it." Lee Hyun-woo was at the weapons control station, coordinating the ship's many different guns and missile systems. Unlike alien ships that had a few powerful weapons, the Lazarus had dozens of smaller weapons that could work together or independently. "All systems ready," Heejin reported to the watching galaxy. "HMS Lazarus ready for combat." The response came from the infinite theorem in a voice like singing crystal. "Primitive vessel, you have 30 seconds to withdraw your challenge. This is your final opportunity to surrender with honor." "We didn't come here to surrender," Heejin replied. "Let's see what your perfect ship can do." The infinite theorem moved with impossible grace, accelerating without any visible thrust. Its crystal hull began to glow brighter as its weapons systems powered up. Energy collectors along its surface gathered power from space itself, feeding weapons that could destroy a moon. The Lazarus, by comparison, looked crude and clumsy. Its hull was covered with sensor arrays, armor plates, and weapon turrets that stuck out in every direction. To the watching aliens, it looked like someone had glued together spare parts and called it a starship. "Beginning engagement," the infinite theorem announced. The first attack came without warning. A beam of pure energy, brighter than a star, struck the Lazarus directly amidships. The human ship's shields flared and failed instantly. The beam burned through 3 layers of armor and destroyed an entire section of the hull. Cheers erupted from the alien observer ships. The human vessel was already badly damaged from a single shot, but then something unexpected happened. Instead of exploding or surrendering, the Lazarus began to change. The armor plates around the damaged area shifted and rearranged themselves. Nanites swarmed over the hole in the hull, using the melted metal to create new, stronger armor. Within minutes, the ship had not only repaired the damage, but had actually become stronger in that area. "Impossible," the prime intellect of the crystalline collective transmitted to its ship. "Scan that vessel again. How did it repair itself so quickly?" Inside the Lazarus, Yoonji was watching her AI system work. "The computer analyzed the energy beam," she reported. "It's already figured out how to make our armor resist that type of attack." "Then let's see how well it learned," Heejin said. The second energy beam from the infinite theorem struck the same spot. This time, the new armor absorbed most of the energy and converted it into power for the Lazarus's own systems. What should have been a killing blow instead made the human ship stronger. Now the alien observers were confused instead of amused. Murmurs of concern spread through the watching fleets. This was not how space combat was supposed to work. The Lazarus began its counterattack. Its many small weapons opened fire, sending dozens of different types of projectiles toward the crystal ship. Most of them bounced harmlessly off the infinite theorem's shields, but the AI was learning from every impact. "The AI is mapping their shield frequency," Dae-ho reported. "Give it a few more seconds." The infinite theorem fired again, this time with multiple weapons. Energy beams, plasma bolts, and gravitational distortions struck the human ship from several directions. Each attack damaged the Lazarus, but each attack also taught the ship's AI something new about alien weapons technology. "Shield frequency identified," Yoonji announced. "Reconfiguring weapons now." The Lazarus's weapons suddenly changed their output. Instead of firing random projectiles, they now fired energy bursts tuned to the exact frequency that could penetrate the infinite. Theorem's shields. The first few shots got through, scorching the crystal hull. The prime intellect was no longer amused. "How are they penetrating our shields? That frequency data is classified at the highest levels." "They're learning," Heejin transmitted to the alien ship. "Every time you hit us, we get smarter. Every time we hit you, we learn your weaknesses." The battle became more intense. The infinite theorem used weapons that could bend space and time, creating attacks that came from multiple directions at once. But each new weapon just gave the Lazarus's AI more data to work with. After 30 minutes of combat, something remarkable was happening. The human ship was adapting faster than the alien ship could damage it. Every repair made the Lazarus stronger. Every new attack pattern was quickly analyzed and countered. "This is not possible," the infinite theorem's captain transmitted. "Our weapons are the most advanced in the galaxy." "Your weapons are perfect," Deho replied. "That's your problem. Perfect things can't change, can't adapt, can't learn. Our ship gets better every second of this fight." To prove his point, the Lazarus did something that shocked every observer. When the infinite theorem fired its main weapon, the human ship didn't try to dodge or block it. Instead, it opened its armor and let the weapon hit its internal systems directly. The alien beam tore through the ship's interior, destroying several compartments. But the nanites immediately swarmed into the damaged areas, not just to repair them, but to incorporate the alien energy technology into the ship itself. "By the void," whispered the captain of a Zephyrian observer ship. "They're not just repairing damage. They're stealing our technology and making it part of their ship." The next time the Lazarus fired, its weapons included modified versions of the infinite theorem's own energy beams. The human ship was literally consuming alien technology and making it stronger. "Withdraw," the prime intellect commanded its ship. "This battle is no longer winnable." But it was too late. The Lazarus had learned too much, adapted too well. Its weapons now included systems from a dozen different alien technologies, all integrated by an AI that understood how to make incompatible systems work together. The final blow came when the infinite theorem's main weapon overheated. The crystalline collective's perfect technology had a flaw. Their weapons were so powerful that they needed time to cool down between shots. During that cooling period, the ship was vulnerable. The Lazarus struck with everything it had: beams, missiles, and energy weapons that the ship had learned to create during the battle. The crystal hull of the infinite theorem cracked, then shattered, then began to dissolve as human nanites started converting the alien ship into raw materials. "We surrender," the prime intellect transmitted, its voice full of disbelief. "Cease. Fire. We surrender." The space around Kepler Station fell silent. The most advanced ship in the galaxy had been defeated by what the aliens had called flying garbage. The impossible had happened, but He Jin wasn't finished. The terms were surrender or destruction, she transmitted to the infinite theorem. "We accept your surrender, but we want something in return." "What do you want?" the prime intellect asked. "Your ship," Deho said. "We want to study your technology, learn from it, and add it to our own, just like you've been doing to us for years." The watching alien fleets began to panic. If humans could take the most advanced ship in the galaxy and learn from its technology, what would they build next? "This changes everything," transmitted the Zephyrian chancellor to his fleet. "If humans can adapt any technology, make any weapon part of their arsenal, then they're not the primitive species we thought they were," finished the representative of the Void Runners. As the Lazarus approached the crippled infinite theorem, its nanites already reaching out to begin analysis of the alien systems, every observer understood that they had just witnessed the end of one era and the beginning of another. The galaxy had laughed at human scrap metal and wishful thinking. Now they watched in awe and terror as that scrap metal consumed the finest ship they had ever built, growing stronger with every piece it absorbed. The age of static, perfect technology was over. The age of adaptive, evolving human-influenced technology had begun. The news of humanity's victory spread across the galaxy faster than light-speed communications. Within hours, every species knew that the impossible had happened. The primitive humans had defeated the crystalline collective's finest ship using nothing but scrap metal and determination. But the Galactic Council was not ready to accept defeat. Dr. Young-Mi Ra floated in the research bay of the captured infinite theorem, surrounded by pieces of alien technology that her team was carefully studying. She was a small woman with quick hands and an even quicker mind. Her job was to understand how the most advanced technology in the galaxy actually worked. "This is incredible," she said to Kim Dae-ho as they examined a crystal computing core. Their technology is beautiful, but it's also incredibly wasteful. This one component uses enough energy to power a human city. Dae-ho nodded as he studied. The alien systems. They built everything to be perfect instead of efficient. No wonder they need so much power. On Earth, Oh Dong-hyun was coordinating humanity's new role as technology traders. The former black market dealer now found himself running the most important business in human space. Every day, ships arrived with aliens wanting to trade for human adaptive technology. 5 Tokari bioships want to trade their healing technology for our nanite repair systems, he reported to the Earth government. The drift miners are offering their asteroid mining equipment for our modular construction techniques. But not everyone was happy about humanity's rise. 3 months after the battle at Kepler Station, long-range sensors detected a massive fleet heading toward Earth. The Galactic Council had decided that if they couldn't defeat human technology in single combat, they would overwhelm it with numbers. Lim. Sujin stood in the command center of Earth's orbital defense network, watching the approaching fleet on her displays. She was a thin woman with gray streaks in her black hair, and she had spent her entire career preparing for this moment. "How many ships?" asked Bae Jin-ho, commander of Earth's defense fleet. "Over 1,000. Sujin replied grimly. "Every major species has contributed ships. They're not taking any chances this time. But humanity was no longer alone. The victory at Kepler Station had inspired other species who had been looked down upon by the Galactic Council. Species that had been told their technology was inferior, their methods primitive, their ways worthless. The first to arrive was a fleet of Tokari bioships. These vessels looked like living creatures rather than machines, with hulls that could heal damage and weapons that grew like organs. The Galactic Council had always mocked the Tokari for mixing biology with technology. "We stand with humanity," transmitted Captain Velkara of the bioship Symbiosis. "You have shown us that different does not mean inferior." Next came the drift miners, a species that lived entirely in space and built their ships from asteroids. Their vessels looked like flying mountains, rough and ugly by alien standards, but incredibly tough and practical. "The Council called us scavengers," transmitted Mining Captain Torvek. "If being a scavenger means turning garbage into strength, then we are proud scavengers." More species arrived every day. The spiral builders, who grew their technology instead of manufacturing it. The echo dancers, who used sound and vibration instead of conventional energy. The void touched, who built their ships from dark matter that most species couldn't even detect. All of them had been dismissed by the Galactic Council as primitive or worthless. All of them had technologies that were different from the standard methods used by the major powers. And all of them had learned from humanity's example that different could be better. Park Yun-ji worked frantically to coordinate the different AI systems. Each species had their own approach to artificial intelligence, and combining them all was like conducting an orchestra where every musician played a different type of instrument. "The Tokari AIs are biological neural networks," she explained to her team. "The drift miner AIs are distributed across entire asteroid fields. The Echo Dancer AIs exist as sound patterns in crystalline matrices. But somehow they were making it work." The hybrid AI system that emerged was unlike anything that had ever existed. It could think like a biological brain, process information like a crystal computer, and distribute its consciousness across vast distances like a mining network. When the Galactic Council fleet arrived at Earth, they expected to find a primitive world defended by a few crude ships. Instead, they found a coalition of species working together with technology that none of them understood. The battle began with the Council fleet trying to use their traditional tactics: overwhelming firepower, perfect formations, and standardized weapons systems. But their enemies were not fighting by the traditional rules. Tokari bioships absorbed energy weapons and converted the power into healing and growth. Drift miner asteroid ships used gravitational weapons that could crush conventional hulls. Echo Dancer vessels attacked with sonic waves that disrupted alien computer systems. And coordinating it all were human ships built from the wreckage of previous battles. Every destroyed Council vessel became raw material for new human technology. Every weapon fired at the defenders was analyzed, understood, and eventually turned against its creators. "This is impossible," transmitted the Zephyrian, Chancellor from his flagship. "How are they coordinating so many different technologies?" The answer came from Kang Hee-jin, now commanding a fleet of hybrid human ships. "We don't try to make everything the same. We make everything work together." The battle raged for 3 days, but it quickly became clear that the Council fleet was not fighting one enemy but dozens of different enemies that had learned to work as one. Every time they adapted to one type of attack, 3 new types would emerge. On the 3rd day, something unprecedented happened. Council ships began to surrender, not because they were defeated, but because they wanted to join the other side. "This is Captain Narvosh of the hegemony destroyer Black Star," came a transmission from the enemy fleet. "We request permission to defect to the Allied forces." More ships followed. Crews who had been forced to fight for the Council saw the freedom and cooperation of the Allied fleet and wanted to be part of it. Within hours, half the Council fleet had either surrendered or switched sides. "We offer terms," the Zephyrian Chancellor finally transmitted. "Withdraw your fleets and return to your own space. The Council will not pursue further hostilities." "No," Daeho replied from his command ship. "We don't want to just stop the fighting. We want to change everything." The demands that followed shocked the galaxy. Humanity and their allies wanted the Galactic Council dissolved. They wanted all technology-sharing restrictions removed. They wanted every species to have equal representation in galactic government, regardless of their technological level. Most importantly, they wanted an end to the idea that there was only one right way to build things. "Your perfect technology has been the same for thousands of years," Sujin transmitted to the Council. "Leaders, you've learned nothing new because you think you already know everything. It's time for that to change." The old Council had no choice but to agree. Their fleet was scattered, their technology had been proven inferior, and their member species were abandoning them in favor of the new alliance. 6 months later, the Adaptive Alliance held its first meeting on Kepler Station. Representatives from over 200 species gathered to share knowledge and learn from each other. The beautiful crystal halls that had once echoed with alien laughter at human primitiveness now buzzed with excited conversations about new discoveries. Daeho walked through the station's corridors, amazed at what he saw. Tokari engineers were working with human technicians to develop biomechanical armor. Drift miners were teaching crystalline scientists how to build with raw asteroids. Echo dancers were showing everyone how to use sound as a manufacturing tool. "It's working," Yunji said, joining him at an observation window. "All these different technologies, all these different ways of thinking, and they're all learning from each other." "The Council was wrong about everything," Daeho replied. "They thought the best technology had to be perfect and unchanging. But the best technology is the kind that grows and learns and adapts." Outside the window, ships from dozens of species docked at the station. Each vessel was unique, built using the techniques and materials of its creators. But all of them shared certain features now: modular design, adaptive systems, and the ability to learn from other technologies. The galaxy had laughed at human scraps and called them worthless garbage. Now those same scraps had become the foundation for a new type of civilization, one where every idea had value and every species had something to contribute. The age of technological supremacy was over. The age of technological cooperation had begun, and it had started in a scrapyard on Earth with a young man who refused to believe that broken things couldn't be made better. 5 years had passed since the battle that changed everything. Kim Dae-ho stood in his office in New Geneva, looking out at a city that would have been impossible to imagine just a few years ago. Buildings grew like living trees using Tokari bioarchitecture, while floating platforms built with drift miner gravity technology carried people through the air. The sound of echo dancer construction songs mixed with the hum of human machinery. Earth had become the center of galactic civilization, not through conquest or force, but because it had become the place where impossible things became possible. "Morning reports," Park Yoon-ji said, entering his office with a datapad in her hands. She now served as the Alliance's chief technology coordinator, helping species from across the galaxy share their discoveries. "The Vortex builders have successfully combined their dimensional technology with human modular design," she reported. "They've created ships that can exist in multiple dimensions at once, and every component can be modified on the fly." "Dae-ho," smiled as he reviewed the reports. Every day brought news of new breakthroughs, new combinations of technologies that no one had thought possible. The galaxy was learning faster than ever before because everyone was sharing, instead of hoarding, their knowledge. "And the former council species?" he asked. "Most of them have adapted well to the new system," Yunji replied. "The crystalline collective has learned to make their perfect crystals work with imperfect systems. The Zephyrians are teaching others how to make their energy technology more efficient. Even the Void Runners have started building ships with visible parts that can be repaired." Not everyone had adapted easily. Some species had struggled to give up their ideas about technological superiority, but the benefits of cooperation were too obvious to ignore. When a crystalline ship could repair itself using human nanites, when Zephyrian weapons could be powered by Tokari bioenergy, when Void Runner stealth technology could hide drift miner asteroid ships, the advantages of working together became clear. Kang Hee-jin entered the office, still wearing her captain's uniform. She now commanded the Alliance exploration fleet, leading ships that combined technologies from dozens of species to explore the farthest reaches of the galaxy. "We've made contact with 3 new species in the rim sectors," she reported. "All of them have unique technologies that we've never seen before. The Harmony Singers build their ships using pure mathematics. The Phase Walkers create technology that exists partially outside normal space, and the Time-Touched have found ways to make their machines age backwards." "Any resistance to joining the Alliance?" Daeho asked. "None," Hee-jin replied with a grin. "When they see what we can build by working together, they all want to be part of it. Who wouldn't want their technology to become stronger by learning from others?" The transformation of the galaxy went far beyond just technology. The old system, where a few powerful species ruled over everyone else, had been replaced by something unprecedented. A truly cooperative civilization where every voice mattered. Choi Sang-min, now the Alliance's first chancellor, had worked to create a government that could include species with completely different ways of thinking. Crystal beings who thought in mathematical equations worked alongside energy creatures who communicated through color patterns and biological species who made decisions by consensus. "The key," he had explained to Daeho, "is not trying to make everyone the same. It's about finding ways for different minds to work together." The Alliance Council met in a chamber that would have seemed impossible under the old system. Representatives floated, sat, stood, or existed as pure energy patterns, depending on their species' needs. Discussions were translated not just between languages, but between entirely different ways of processing information. But perhaps the most dramatic change was in how the galaxy thought about failure and imperfection. Under the old council, any technology that wasn't perfect was considered worthless. Now, imperfection was seen as opportunity. "Every flaw is a chance to learn something new," Yoon So-young often said in her role as the Alliance's cultural integration specialist. "Every broken piece is a component waiting to become part of something better." This philosophy had led to discoveries that amazed even Daeho. When a crystalline computer system developed a crack, instead of replacing it, Alliance engineers learned to use the crack as a new type of processing pathway. When a Tokari bioship got sick, they studied the disease and turned it into a new form of adaptive immunity. The greatest symbol of this new approach was the Alliance's flagship, the HMS Evolution. Built in the same scrapyards where Daeho had first discovered alien technology, the Evolution was a living testament to cooperative engineering. Its hull was grown using Tokari biotechnology, shaped with drift miner gravity tools, powered by crystalline energy cores, and controlled by an AI that combined the best features of dozens of different thinking systems. But the most remarkable thing about the Evolution was that it was never the same ship twice. It constantly rebuilt itself, incorporating new technologies and adapting to new challenges. Every species that joined the Alliance contributed something to the ship, making it more capable and more complex. "It's beautiful," Lee Hyun-woo said as he watched the ship dock at Earth's orbital shipyard. The old soldier now served as the Alliance's defense coordinator, but his job had become much easier as species after species chose cooperation over conflict. "It's more than beautiful," Daeho replied. "It's proof that the impossible is just something we haven't figured out how to do yet." As the years passed, the changes became even more profound. Children born in Alliance space grew up learning multiple types of technology from an early age. Human kids learned to grow bioships alongside young Tokari. Crystalline children studied modular design with their human classmates. Young drift miners learned to work with gravity and sound and energy as naturally as they breathed. These children would grow up to build things that their parents could never have imagined. Ships that were alive and mechanical and crystalline, all at once. Cities that existed in multiple dimensions while being rooted in biological soil. Art that was also technology that was also a form of communication. "We're not just changing how we build things," Nam Tae-jun observed during one of his visits to Earth. The old shipyard foreman now traveled the galaxy, teaching construction techniques to species who had never heard of modular design. "We're changing how we think about what's possible." The old scrapyards of Neo-Busan had been transformed into the Alliance Technical Institute, where students from across the galaxy came to learn the art of creative salvage. The lessons weren't just about combining different technologies, but about seeing potential where others saw only problems. "Every broken thing teaches us something," Daeho told his students during one of his lectures. "Every failed experiment shows us a new path to try. Every piece of junk is actually a tool waiting for the right job." He often thought about the early days when he and Yoonji had worked alone in the scrapyard, trying to make alien technology work with human systems. Now, teams of engineers from dozens of species worked together on projects that spanned entire star systems. The greatest of these projects was the Infinity Engine, a massive construction that combined the knowledge of every species in the Alliance. It was part computer, part living organism, part crystalline matrix, part gravitational field, and part pure energy. No one could say exactly what it was because it was constantly becoming something new. "What does it do?" a young reporter had asked during the engine's activation ceremony. "It learns," Daeho had replied. "It takes in information from across the galaxy and finds new ways to combine it. Every day, it discovers things that none of us could have discovered alone." The Infinity Engine's first breakthrough had been a new form of faster-than-light travel that worked by temporarily convincing space that distance was just a suggestion. Its second discovery was a way to communicate instantly across the galaxy using crystalline resonance. Its third finding was a method for storing unlimited energy in folded space-time. But perhaps its most important discovery was theoretical, a proof that there was no limit to how much different technologies could be combined and improved. The engine had shown mathematically that every new combination opened up possibilities for even more combinations in an endless spiral of innovation. The old council thought they had reached the peak of technology, Yoonji said, as she and Daeho watched the engine work. They thought there was nothing left to discover. "They were right," Daeho replied. "There was nothing left to discover if you only worked with your own ideas. But when you start combining different ideas, different ways of thinking, different approaches to problems, then the possibilities become infinite." As the sun set over New Geneva, Daeho walked through the city streets where humans and aliens worked side by side. Children played games that combined human strategy with alien physics. Artists created sculptures that were also functional technology. Scientists made discoveries that no single species could have achieved alone. The galaxy had laughed at human scraps and called them worthless. Now those scraps had become the foundation for a civilization that was stronger, smarter, and more creative than anything that had come before. But the most important change wasn't in